Tabs on Switch is finally here, and I'm going to show you the pros and cons of everyone's favorite battle simulator on Switch. And after that, I'll provide some news for the PlayStation 4 port. But first, go ahead and hit the like button and consider subscribing to get all future updates around this game and future Landfall games. Also, if you subscribe and leave a comment, you'll be entered into a giveaway for a $60 game of your choosing, details in the description. Many of us have been waiting patiently for tabs on Switch. And as of November 3rd, we finally have it. I'll break this down into a pros and cons list just to keep things simple, just like tabs. Now let's talk about the overall game. Pro. The Switch version of Tabs is equipped with most of the content from the PC version. Even though they had to cut a few things, most of the game is all here and ready to go. The secret maps, units, and additional evil good campaigns are also available to play when you unlock them. And speaking of, go check out my secret units maps video. It will show you how to unlock all of those. But otherwise, it is all crammed into the Switch version, which is great. Con. They did have to cut a couple units and 2 campaigns. The Legacy campaign and the Simulation campaign are not on the Switch version. I wouldn't say it's a major loss, but it's worth noting. And with the map creator that we'll talk about in a little bit, someone can make that on their own or something similar. Now let's talk about the overall performance of this game on the Nintendo Switch. Con. The Switch version does not run as smoothly as the PC version. Additionally, the game's characters and graphics all have more noticeable edges than the PC version. You are initially limited to 20 units per side to help maintain a level of playability within the game. This limitation can be turned off in the settings to allow as many units as you want, but depending on the flashiness of those units and how many are placed, you will likely get lots of stuttering and reduced performance. So I can't really suggest it. Some of that is just the nature of this game. Even a nice computer won't perform flawless battles when there's tons of units on the field. That's just the nature of this game, but the Switch really is limited in its performance. Pro. With the Switch version, lower performance or not, you can take the game wherever you go. Con. The unit selection wheel, whenever you're placing units, is kind of a hassle. A scrollable list would be easier in my opinion, but that could be because I'm so used to the PC version in general. For someone new to the game, the wheel selection system might be easier to pick up. I can't say on that matter, but I would prefer a list at the bottom of the screen that I could just select from. Pro. Other than that unit selection wheel, the controls that they use to bring tabs to Switch play really well, and they make sense. It doesn't take long to get familiar with the controls and feel like you have control of the battlefield. Playing in first-person mode is also very exciting and one of my favorite ways to play the game, especially online. Whenever you're fighting someone else in their army, that's definitely a ton of fun. Now, speaking of online gameplay, here's another con. Switch players are limited to playing online against other Switch players, since there is a difference in selectable units between the games. I was able to join a couple of online games so far and they have been really fun, but the matchmaking can take a few minutes longer than PC due to the Switch only limitation. Your audience to play multiplayer with is smaller, but if the game keeps picking up more players, then that time to find someone to play against will obviously be reduced. Map Creator. Pro. The map creator is completely the same as the PC's version. All versions of the game have the same assets and functions to create your own levels. Map creation on the controller is very well done and very easy to pick up, arguably easier than the PC in some regards. Now let's talk about the unit creator. Con. The unit creating process is not as seamless as the PC version. Finding the right piece of clothing or the right weapon takes lots of scrolling and frankly memorization to know where the items are located. The search bar is still available, but typing anything on a virtual keyboard is always more time consuming than on an actual keyboard. Due to this and the vast number of items to scroll through, the process can be more time consuming than fun. I think a folder system would be super beneficial where you could select the faction from a list that you want to review and then go from there So if you happen to know the faction related to that item, you can just go with that faction and scroll through their weapons and their clothing. Another idea for Landfall games is a side-scrolling list instead of a column grouped list to find items and weapons. I think that would be easier to scroll through your options and just see it automatically applied to your unit as you're looking. Now pro, speaking of unit creator, I did create a unit already. This is kind of my own made up pro. You can go find him on the workshop on the Switch version. His name's called Pizza Slice. Go check him out. And as you can see, here is another con. The units don't have their pictures captured. That's not an option on the Switch version as it is on the PC version. So you really don't know what these units look like until you download them. Please fix that, Landfall. So this was my primary list of pros and cons for my initial review of the game. And I would say that Landfall has been mostly successful in their port to Switch. If I had to rate it in its current state, I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5 stars or wobblers or halflings compared to the PC version. The bones of the game, it's still there and you can have a ton of fun, but the performance can be a little slow and a few of the features like unit creation aren't the smoothest right now. I think Landfall can make a few updates to make it a more enjoyable experience overall, and they would have a great port to Switch. Now let's move on to a few updates before we head out. Landfall has confirmed that the PlayStation port will cost about $20, like the Switch port, which is to be expected. So they also plan to make some bug fixes throughout the rest of this year for their game, as the Switch port has already had some issues, and I'm sure there will be more. I've already noticed one where the castle during one of the menu screens is just really discolored. It was odd, but it's gonna happen. They are working on all these bugs and checking Twitter very often. If you find an issue or a bug, just reach out to them on Twitter and they will look into it for you. I've seen a lot of issues reported there and they've been looking into those. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Subscribe. Peace.